Why certain people seem sent into your life just to drain you, control you, and dim your light? What if I told you that God has already given you the strength not only to endure them, but to overcome them completely? The truth is, narcissists may look powerful, but their kingdom is built on lies. And the moment an empath rises in divine authority, that kingdom begins to crumble. God said, "You are not weak. You are my warrior angel, sent to destroy the enemies that try to silence truth and love. Every battle you've faced, every tear you've cried, has been preparing you for this very moment. And by the end of this message, you'll understand why you were chosen and how the downfall of the narcissist is already written in heaven. Stay with me until the end, because I promise, what you're about to hear will shift how you see your struggles forever. And if this resonates with your spirit, make sure to subscribe and drop a comment below, because your voice might be the encouragement someone else desperately needs today. Life often feels like a battlefield, where light and darkness collide. And in this war, God does not choose his warriors by the standards of the world. He does not send the strongest in body or the loudest in voice. Instead, he often chooses the quiet ones, the ones with tender hearts, the ones who feel deeply, the empaths. And there is a reason for this divine assignment. You see, empaths carry something narcissists cannot understand and will never possess: genuine compassion, spiritual awareness, and the ability to see beyond masks. A narcissist thrives on illusions, on manipulation, on control. And they craft a world where appearances matter more than truth. But God raises empaths as living swords of light, because when truth walks into the room, lies begin to shake. The empath does not fight with cruelty. They fight with authenticity. They do not conquer through domination. They conquer by exposing what cannot stand in the light of God. This is why narcissists are often drawn to empaths. They sense both their softness and their hidden power. But what the narcissist views as weakness, God views as a weapon. Every tear, every heartbreak, every moment of silence has been training the empath for the role of a warrior angel. Their ability to feel deeply becomes the very thing that cuts through the coldness of the narcissist's heart. Their ability to discern truth becomes the shield that protects them from deception. And their ability to love even when broken becomes the fire that dismantles the narcissist's illusion of control. This is no accident. It is a heavenly strategy. God plants empaths in places where lies are thick, because only someone who sees clearly with the eyes of the Spirit can pierce the fog. And when the empath rises, carrying both wounds and wisdom, the narcissist is faced with the one thing they cannot destroy: the light of God shining through human fragility. That is why your battles have been so intense, why your path has been so heavy, and why your story has been filled with people who tried to break you. Because you are not just surviving random suffering, you are being forged into a vessel of divine justice. God raises you, the empath, because he knows you will not use your power for selfish gain, but for truth, healing, and freedom. And when the narcissist crosses paths with a chosen empath, the game changes forever. The masks fall, the lies scatter, and their false kingdom begins to collapse. This is your divine assignment, to stand not in the strength of your flesh, but in the authority of the one who sent you. You are not here by chance, you are here by command. And every narcissist who rises against you has already declared war against the God who walks with you. That is why you will not only endure them, you will outlast them, expose them, and overcome them. For this is not just survival, it is destiny.
There is a war happening every day, though most people never notice it, because it is not fought with swords, guns, or armies. It is an unseen battle between light and darkness, between the empath and the narcissist. On the surface, it may look like a relationship conflict, a toxic friendship, or a power struggle at work. But if you look deeper, you will see a spiritual war unfolding, one that is far greater than the individuals involved. The empath stands as a vessel of light, carrying truth, love, and divine awareness. They walk into spaces and shift atmospheres without even realizing it. The narcissist, on the other hand, operates through shadows, manipulation, and deception. They seek control, they feed on attention, and they hide behind masks to keep their false world intact. The empath threatens all of this, not because they try to fight directly, but simply because they see clearly and feel deeply. Light naturally exposes what is hidden, and that exposure is unbearable to darkness. This is why narcissists are so drawn to empaths. They need the light to survive, yet at the same time, they despise it because it reveals their emptiness. What many fail to see is that every encounter between an empath and a narcissist is more than just a clash of personalities. It is a collision of kingdoms. When an empath refuses to be silenced, they carry the authority of heaven against the illusions of hell. Every time they speak truth, even softly, they strike at the very heart of the narcissist's power. Every time they choose love instead of fear, they dismantle the enemy's agenda. And every time they refuse to bow to manipulation, they bring down strongholds that have enslaved others for years. This hidden battle is real, but so is the victory already promised. For light may be challenged, but it can never be overcome by darkness.
At first glance, a narcissist appears powerful, unshakable, even untouchable. They walk into a room with confidence, speak with authority, and often make others believe they are larger than life. But what most cannot see is that beneath this carefully built mask lies a fragile, fractured core. The truth is, every narcissist is hiding deep insecurity, fear of exposure, and an emptiness they cannot fill. Their arrogance is a costume, their control is a shield, and their cruelty is a cover for wounds they refuse to face. This is why they work so hard to dominate others, because if the spotlight shifts away, if the truth comes out, their whole illusion crumbles. An empath, with their ability to feel and discern, becomes the greatest threat to this false kingdom. Where others may be fooled by the performance, the empath notices the cracks. They see the inconsistency between the words and the actions, the gap between the image and the reality. And once the mask is exposed, the narcissist loses their greatest weapon, the ability to manipulate unseen. That is their weakness. They cannot survive without control, they cannot thrive without admiration, and they cannot endure being revealed for who they really are. And while they try to convince the world that they are strong, in truth they are terrified. Terrified of abandonment, of rejection, of being forgotten. The irony is that what they fear most, they create for themselves. In their desperate need to be admired, they push people away. In their hunger for control, they destroy relationships. In their attempt to look unbreakable, they build their entire life on a foundation of lies, and lies cannot stand forever. The empath does not even need to fight aggressively to reveal this. Simply by standing in authenticity, by refusing to be silenced, by speaking truth even when it hurts, they shine a light that strips away the mask. The narcissist may lash out, grow louder, or more cruel, but their reaction only reveals the very weakness they are trying to hide. And here is the deeper truth. A narcissist is not just fighting people, they are fighting against themselves. The inner emptiness they deny is the real enemy, and until they face it, their life will always be an endless cycle of pretense. This is why God positions empaths in their path, not only to expose, but to demonstrate that authenticity always outlasts performance. The empath's strength is not in matching the narcissist's aggression, but in standing firm as living proof that truth does not break, while lies eventually collapse under their own weight. The mask may look strong, but it is only paper. The core may look hidden, but it cannot remain buried forever. And when light shines, even the deepest shadows have no choice but to fade.
There comes a point in every empath's journey when they must realize that they are not just surviving battles, they are fulfilling an assignment. What you carry inside is not ordinary, it is divine. God placed within you the spirit of a warrior angel, not to live in fear, but to rise as his emissary in a world clouded by deception. The angel within you is not defined by wings or visions, but by the strength that refuses to be broken, by the courage that rises when everything around you tells you to fall, and by the light that shines even in your darkest nights. You have endured pain that should have silenced you, yet here you are, standing. That alone is proof of the angelic fire within. Your sensitivity, often mocked as weakness, is in truth a channel of divine discernment. Your compassion, often taken for granted, is the very reflection of God's heart in human form. And your endurance, though tested again and again, is the mark of a warrior chosen for more than survival. To unlock this warrior identity, you must stop seeing yourself through the lens of your wounds and begin seeing yourself through the eyes of your Creator. God does not send ordinary people to face extraordinary darkness. He sends His chosen ones. That is why you have faced battles others could not bear, because heaven trusted you with them. Every struggle has been training, every betrayal has been shaping, every tear has been watering the soil of your calling. The angel within you is not waiting for permission, it is waiting for recognition. Once you acknowledge that you are more than a victim of circumstance, more than someone who feels too much, and more than someone who attracts the wrong people, you step into the identity of God's warrior emissary. This is not about pride, it is about purpose. You were sent to be light where darkness hides, to speak truth where lies enslave, and to bring healing where cruelty has left scars. The narcissist may think they have the final word, but God has already placed His word within you, and that word is unshakable.
To walk in this angelic identity is to understand that every battle is bigger than you, but none of them are stronger than the one who sent you. You are here to represent heaven's authority on earth, to stand where others fall, and to remind the world that light is never powerless. The angel within you is not a symbol. It is a reality, the living evidence that God chooses the broken to break chains, the soft-hearted to crush cruelty, and the overlooked to overturn the mighty. You are not here by accident. You are here by divine appointment. And once you accept that, no narcissist, no darkness, no deception can stop the power that flows through you.
If there is one thing a narcissist fears more than losing control, more than losing admiration, it is being exposed. Exposure is the one weapon they cannot fight, because their entire identity is built on secrecy and illusion. Narcissists thrive by creating false images, the perfect partner, the flawless leader, the victim who deserves sympathy, and they spend their lives carefully guarding these masks. To be revealed for who they truly are would mean losing the very foundation of their power. This is why revelation is so dangerous to them. When truth enters the room, lies lose their grip. When light shines, darkness has nowhere left to hide. The empath, often underestimated, becomes the carrier of this revelation. Their natural ability to discern, to see through pretense, and to call out inconsistencies makes them a living threat to the narcissist's false reality. And what makes this even more powerful is that the empath does not need to shout, accuse, or prove anything. Simply by standing in truth, they reveal what the narcissist has tried so hard to cover. That silent strength terrifies the narcissist because it strips away their greatest weapon, deception. Exposure forces them to confront the reality they have denied, and it forces others to see what they have hidden. It is the unraveling of their kingdom, thread by thread. And the deeper fear beneath it all is this: if people truly see them, they will no longer admire them, no longer follow them, and no longer feed their endless hunger for control. That is why they fight so violently when truth comes close. They will gaslight, twist, attack, or even play the victim, anything to keep the mask intact. But revelation is unstoppable. Once light has touched something, it cannot return to darkness. Once truth is seen, it cannot be unseen. For the empath, this is not an easy role. To carry revelation often means facing backlash, being misunderstood, and enduring the fury of someone desperate to keep their secrets. Yet this is exactly why God raises empaths as his warriors, because they can endure what others cannot, and they can stand firm when lies try to silence them. Revelation is not just about exposing the narcissist for who they are. It is about freeing those trapped in their web, restoring clarity to those blinded by manipulation, and proving that no lie can stand against God's truth forever. The power of revelation is the ultimate weapon because it does not just end a battle, it changes the entire battlefield. And while narcissists live in terror of being revealed, the empath walks in quiet confidence, knowing that light always has the final word. This is why your presence is powerful, why your voice matters, and why your truth cannot be ignored. You are the revelation they fear, and the moment you stand in it, their illusion begins to crumble.
Authority is not something you beg for. It is something you carry when you understand who sent you. An empath walking with God is not just a gentle soul. They are a vessel of divine power, clothed in humility. Narcissists thrive on intimidation and control because they sense most people's fear. But what happens when they meet someone who refuses to bow? The empath's authority does not come from loud voices, manipulation, or force. It comes from alignment with truth. When you stand firm in your God-given identity, every attempt of the narcissist to belittle you begins to lose its grip. They call you weak, but your strength is spiritual, and that is what terrifies them most. Because deep down they know your spirit cannot be broken. Authority is about knowing you are chosen, not shrinking back when darkness rises. It is about walking into a room and carrying peace so strong that chaos cannot remain. When you declare truth, lies scatter. When you choose love over bitterness, the narcissist's power crumbles. When you walk away in silence instead of feeding their drama, you demonstrate the authority of restraint. This is why God tells his chosen empaths, "Fear not." Your authority does not rely on how others see you. It rests on the one who sent you. To walk in this strength is to recognize that every battle is already won in heaven before it reaches earth. You don't need to match the narcissist's rage. You only need to stand in the light you were given. Authority is not about domination. It is about carrying a presence that no deception can stand against. When you know who you are in God, fear cannot dictate your actions, shame cannot silence your voice, and manipulation cannot twist your truth. That is the authority of the empath, chosen by God, quiet, steady, unshakable.
Life has a way of revealing truths that people try to hide. And one of the greatest truths God has built into the fabric of this world is that evil can never fully win. No matter how strong deception appears, no matter how loud manipulation echoes, and no matter how many traps a narcissist sets, there is always a divine reversal waiting. This is not just poetic justice, it is spiritual law. Scripture says that what a person sows, they shall also reap. When narcissists plant seeds of cruelty, betrayal, and destruction, they think they are securing their dominance. They believe their schemes will keep them on the throne they built out of lies. But what they don't see is that heaven itself watches over the innocent, and God always protects his chosen ones. Every plan crafted in secret eventually circles back to the very hands that set it in motion. This is the essence of divine reversal. The plot designed to break you becomes the very trap that breaks them. Think about how narcissists operate. They are skilled at setting emotional snares, pushing buttons, and weaving webs of confusion to keep others bound in self-doubt. They provoke you to anger so they can paint you as unstable. They betray your trust to make you feel unworthy of love. They isolate you to make you dependent on them for validation. They wear masks so convincing that others believe their false charm while you stand accused as the problem. On the surface, it looks like they're winning. It looks like their cruelty goes unchecked and their lies will remain hidden forever. But this is only the surface. Beneath it, the law of divine justice is already at work. God allows their traps to tighten, not around you, but around themselves. The anger they provoke exposes their true character. The betrayal they planned reveals their lack of loyalty. The mask they wear begins to crack under the weight of truth. Slowly, the image they built starts to collapse, and the empire of manipulation they created becomes the very stage for their downfall. The divine reversal is never rushed. God works with precision, allowing narcissists just enough rope to reveal who they truly are. To you, it might feel like silence from heaven, like your prayers for justice go unanswered. But silence is not absence. Silence is strategy. While you are learning patience, resilience, and strength, the narcissist is digging their own pit deeper and deeper. Every lie requires another lie to cover it. Every manipulation creates more cracks in their relationships. Every act of cruelty plants seeds of resentment in those around them. Eventually, the truth rises to the surface because lies cannot hold weight forever. And when it does, the narcissist finds themselves caught in the very snare they designed for you. History and scripture alike are filled with examples of this divine reversal. Haman built gallows for Mordecai, yet he was the one who hung upon them. Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery, thinking they had destroyed his future, but it was that very act that positioned him to rule and later save them from famine. Daniel's enemies plotted to have him thrown into the lion's den, but it was they who were later devoured. These are not coincidences, they are patterns. They show us that the universe, under God's direction, has a built-in system where darkness eventually consumes itself. The same applies today with narcissists. They may think they are untouchable, but the longer they play with deception, the more fragile their foundation becomes. Their schemes are unsustainable, and sooner or later, the collapse comes. For the empath or chosen one, this reversal is not about revenge, it is about release. God does not call you to fight fire with fire. You are not asked to outlie a liar, outmanipulate a manipulator, or carry the burden of exposing them yourself. Your task is to stand, to trust, and to walk in truth. The divine reversal does the rest. When you refuse to engage in their chaos, you deny them the fuel they crave. When you choose peace instead of retaliation, you protect your spirit from being poisoned by bitterness. And when you walk away, you position yourself to witness how God turns their weapons back on them. The very silence they mocked you for becomes the echo chamber where their own voice exposes them. The strength they underestimated in you becomes the mirror showing them their weakness. The love they tried to kill in your heart becomes the evidence that they never truly had power over you. What makes this reversal so profound is that it doesn't just vindicate you, it transforms you. While the narcissist is busy building their downfall, you are being refined. Every tear you cried becomes a seed of wisdom. Every betrayal you endured strengthens your discernment. Every wound they left on your soul becomes the place where God pours healing, compassion, and power. You rise from their abuse not broken, but rebuilt. And when people see you standing tall, whole, and unshaken, it reveals not only the failure of the narcissist's plans, but also the undeniable favor of God over your life. The narcissist's nightmare is exposure, but exposure is inevitable. They fear being seen for who they really are because their entire existence depends on the mask. Yet, divine reversal guarantees that the mask will eventually slip. The charm they use to control others becomes repulsive once the truth comes out. The allies they manipulated turn against them once they realize they were only pawns. The reputation they fought to maintain shatters when lies can no longer hold. This is why you don't need to prove yourself or justify your truth. The narcissist's own actions will become their undoing, and their collapse will be louder than any defense you could ever give. In the end, divine reversal is God's way of showing that He has the final word. You may have felt powerless under the weight of manipulation, but you were never truly powerless. The empath's role is to endure, to walk in light, and to trust that justice belongs to the Lord. And when the reversal comes, it will not just free you from the narcissist's grip, but it will also serve as a testimony that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. Every trap will turn, every scheme will collapse, and every lie will be swallowed by truth. The narcissist thought they could write your ending, but God was writing a greater story all along, a story where the tables turn, the captives go free, and the manipulators are ensnared by their own devices. That is the divine reversal, and it is unstoppable.
Control is the lifeblood of a narcissist. It is the invisible chain they use to bind people, the silent weapon they wield to keep others small, and the stage upon which they perform their false superiority. Every word they twist, every emotion they exploit, every game they play, it all comes back to one thing: control. Without it, their power collapses. And this is where the empath enters the story, because empaths carry within them a truth that cannot be controlled. At first, the narcissist mistakes the empath's compassion for weakness. They see kindness as something to exploit, patience as permission, and forgiveness as an open door to abuse. But what they fail to understand is that true empathy is not a prison. It is a key. The empath who awakens to their God-given strength realizes that compassion, when rooted in truth, is unshakable. And when the empath rises, the control begins to crumble. The fall of a narcissist's control doesn't happen in a single dramatic moment. It happens through a series of awakenings. The empath begins to see the patterns. They notice how manipulation always comes wrapped in charm. They recognize how flattery is followed by exploitation, how guilt is used as a leash, and how silence is twisted into punishment. Each revelation breaks another link in the chain. What once felt like confusion now makes perfect sense. The fog lifts, and with clarity comes power. The power to say no, the power to walk away, the power to see that their worth was never dependent on the narcissist's approval. In that moment, the narcissist begins to lose the very thing they depend on most: the ability to control the empath's perception of themselves. The more the empath stands in truth, the more frantic the narcissist becomes. You'll notice it. Their mask begins to crack. The once calm manipulator grows restless. They raise their voice louder, but it doesn't shake you anymore. They throw accusations like daggers, but you see through them as projections. They attempt to bait you into conflict, but your silence speaks louder than their chaos. Every tactic they once relied on now falls flat, because the empath has shifted from victim to victor, from prey to warrior. And nothing terrifies a narcissist more than losing their grip on someone they thought they had caged. What makes this fall of control so powerful is that it isn't achieved through retaliation, but through revelation. The empath doesn't need to fight dirty or match cruelty with cruelty. They only need to step into light, to stand in truth, and to recognize their value as a chosen one under God's protection. The moment they do, the narcissist's illusion of power evaporates, because control only works in the dark, and when the empath shines with truth, the darkness has nowhere left to hide. From the beginning of time, God has never chosen warriors by the standards of the world. Humanity often looks for strength in muscle, wealth, or authority, but heaven looks deeper. God looks into the heart. And time again, it is the gentle, the sensitive, the overlooked who are entrusted with his greatest battles.
Sensitive souls may seem fragile to the eyes of man, but to God, they are instruments of profound power. Their sensitivity is not weakness, it is awareness. It is the ability to feel beyond the surface, to sense the cries of the broken, and to carry compassion where others carry indifference. This divine sensitivity becomes the very reason God calls them His warriors of justice. For who else but the tender-hearted could expose cruelty without becoming cruel themselves? Who else but the empath could stand in the face of manipulation and still choose truth over vengeance? When God chooses sensitive souls, He equips them with more than emotion. He gives them discernment. This spiritual radar allows them to see beyond appearances, to recognize deception that others might miss, and to understand wounds hidden beneath pride or power. This gift makes them a threat to the narcissist, because empaths see through the mask. They notice the cracks, the inconsistencies, the shadows behind the performance. While the world may applaud the narcissist's charm, the sensitive soul quietly discerns the truth, and in that discernment lies their strength. For justice cannot be served by those blinded by appearances. It requires eyes that see with both clarity and compassion. The heavenly mandate is not an easy calling. To be a sensitive warrior often means carrying pain more deeply, feeling wounds more intensely, and walking paths others cannot understand. But it is in this very burden that purpose is born. God does not waste tears. He turns them into rivers of strength. Every heartbreak that once threatened to shatter the empath becomes training ground for resilience. Every betrayal becomes wisdom. Every season of loneliness becomes preparation for leadership. Sensitive souls are not chosen because life is easy for them. They are chosen because they can carry what others cannot. And through their endurance, they reveal the justice of God to a watching world. At the heart of this heavenly mandate is love, not the weak, passive love that tolerates abuse, but the fierce love that stands against injustice and refuses to bow to lies. It is the love that sees the image of God in oneself and refuses to let that image be distorted by manipulation. This is why sensitive souls are warriors, not because they wield swords of steel, but because they wield swords of truth, compassion, and unwavering resilience. They remind the world that justice is not born from cruelty, but from courage, not from domination, but from faith. And in the end, the very sensitivity that once made them targets becomes the weapon that ensures victory. For God has declared, "The meek shall inherit the earth, and those chosen in tenderness shall reign in strength."
There comes a time in every battle between light and darkness when the illusion can no longer hold. No matter how carefully the narcissist builds their false kingdom, no matter how long they wear the mask, there is always a final blow. A moment when God Himself says, "Enough." That is the moment their carefully crafted image collapses, their power dissolves, and their schemes turn to dust. This breaking point does not come by human strength alone. It is not achieved through retaliation or revenge. It is the divine order of God, timed with precision, delivered with authority, and impossible to escape. The narcissist believes they are invincible, but heaven has already written the day when their illusion shatters, and when it does, No manipulation, no mask, and no lie can stand. To understand the weight of the final blow, we first need to understand the foundation of the narcissist's illusion. Their power is not real power, it is perception. It is smoke and mirrors. They manipulate reality, twisting stories until they appear to be the hero and painting their victims as the problem. They gather allies not with honesty, but with charm. They rise not through integrity, but through deceit. Their authority is built on fear, intimidation, and emotional manipulation. And for a while, it works. People are deceived. The empath feels silenced. The narcissist appears untouchable. But illusions cannot stand against truth forever. Eventually, the cracks begin to show. Eventually, the lies become too heavy to hold. And eventually, the truth demands to be revealed. This unraveling is the mercy of God, but also His justice, for He will not allow evil to reign unchecked. Throughout Scripture, we see the pattern repeated again and again. Pharaoh hardened his heart, enslaving God's people, but the final blow came through the plagues, and his pride drowned in the Red Sea. Nebuchadnezzar exalted himself above heaven, but the final blow struck when his mind was taken, and he was reduced to living like a beast. Even Lucifer, the original narcissist, sought to exalt himself above God, but the final blow cast him from heaven like lightning. These moments show us a truth that cannot be denied. Pride always precedes a fall, and deception always collapses under divine judgment. For the empath, the final blow is not something to dread, it is something to anticipate with faith. Because often, before the illusion shatters, the empath feels the weight of hopelessness. They wonder if the narcissist will ever face consequences. They question if truth will ever be seen. They wrestle with despair as the narcissist seems to thrive while they suffer. But what the empath must remember is that God's timing is not human timing. The delay is not denial, it is preparation. Every tear, every prayer, every moment of endurance is recorded in heaven. And when the appointed time comes, God delivers the final blow in a way no one can deny. What does this look like? Sometimes it is exposure. The narcissist is revealed for who they really are, and the very people they once deceived now turn away in disgust. Sometimes it is collapse. The empire they built on manipulation falls apart. Finances dry up, relationships crumble, and their influence disappears overnight. Sometimes it is isolation. The crowd that once cheered them abandons them, leaving them to face the emptiness of their own soul. And sometimes it is an internal breaking. The mask slips, and they are forced to confront the darkness they can no longer hide. In every case, the final blow leaves them powerless, their illusion shattered beyond repair. It is important to see that this blow is not delivered through the empath's hands, but through God's. The empath's role is not to seek vengeance, but to walk in truth, to remain steadfast, and to refuse to bow to the lie. In doing so, they align themselves with God's justice. When the final blow comes, the empath stands not as a bitter victim, but as a living testimony of resilience, grace, and divine favor. And this contrast is what makes the narcissist's fall so profound. While they collapse under the weight of their own deception, the empath rises in strength, dignity, and unshakable truth. The shattering of the illusion is often shocking to those who were deceived. For so long, the narcissist seemed admirable, trustworthy, even righteous. But when the curtain is pulled back, the reality is undeniable. People see the manipulation they ignored. They recognize the lies they believed. They witness the destruction that was hidden in plain sight. This revelation not only strips the narcissist of control, but also vindicates the empath. The truth that was once silenced is now undeniable. The voice that was mocked is now heard. And the empath, once painted as weak, is revealed as the true warrior who endured with integrity until God's justice prevailed. The final blow is not just about the narcissist's downfall. It is about the empath's freedom. It marks the end of bondage and the beginning of restoration. The chains of manipulation fall. The fog of confusion clears. The cycle of abuse breaks. And the empath steps into a new season, not defined by pain, but by purpose. This moment becomes a turning point where wounds are healed, strength is renewed, and identity as God's chosen warrior is fully embraced. But perhaps the most powerful aspect of the final blow is what it reveals about God's nature. He is not passive in the face of injustice. He is not blind to suffering. He is not silent forever. He is a God of justice, and his timing is perfect. The narcissist may laugh for a season, but they cannot laugh forever. They may exalt themselves for a time, but they cannot exalt themselves forever. They may control others for a while, but they cannot control forever. Eventually, every knee bows, every lie falls, and every illusion shatters before the authority of heaven. And when that happens, the empath's story becomes a living testimony that no darkness can overcome the light God placed within them.
In every battle between good and evil, there comes a moment when light proves itself stronger than darkness. For the empath, chosen by God as a warrior of truth, this moment is not just survival, it is victory. The narcissist's tactics, built on fear, deception, and control, may cause wounds along the way, but they can never extinguish the light that God has placed within his chosen ones. This is the mystery of divine power. What was meant to break you becomes the very thing that reveals your strength. The empath's sensitivity, once mocked as weakness, transforms into the force that exposes lies and ushers in peace. This is the victory of light, not through vengeance or retaliation, but through resilience, clarity, and an unwavering connection to God's truth. When light rises, darkness loses its grip. The narcissist thrives in secrecy, manipulation, and hidden agendas. But the empath, walking in alignment with God, carries illumination into those hidden places. Lies cannot survive where truth shines. Fear cannot control where courage stands. And cruelty cannot dominate where compassion holds its ground. Each step the empath takes in truth is an act of warfare, dismantling the narcissist's illusion and loosening the chains that once held them captive. The result is freedom. Freedom not only for themselves, but for those around them who were also caught in the narcissist's web. What began as a personal struggle becomes a ripple effect of liberation. This victory is not loud, but it is lasting. It does not come through explosive confrontation, but through quiet persistence. It does not seek to humiliate the narcissist, but to break the cycle of oppression. That is why it brings peace. True victory does not create new chains, it destroys them. The empath's triumph is marked not by bitterness, but by healing. It is seen in the ability to walk away without carrying resentment, to stand tall without carrying pride, and to extend compassion without opening the door to abuse again. This balance is what makes the empath a true warrior of light. They are not hardened by battle, but refined by it. And so, the story ends not in destruction, but in restoration. The narcissist's control collapses, their power fades, and the empath emerges as a vessel of God's justice and mercy. The scars remain as reminders, but they no longer ache. They testify. They speak of battles endured, lessons learned, and strength discovered. And in this testimony lies the greatest victory, the witness that God's light is stronger than any darkness, and His chosen warriors will always prevail. The empath becomes not just a survivor, but a beacon, showing others the path out of bondage, the way into healing, and the promise of peace that lasts. This is the victory of light, and it is eternal.